If you prefer, you can use that. Okay, great. Most welcome to all of you. And more than most of you, welcome, Mr. President. Welcome, Volodymyr. Welcome to Sweden again. We meet here today in Linköping for bilateral cooperation reasons, and we meet in Brussels tomorrow for European cooperation. That says something about the intensity of all the discussions and all the cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. Just a couple of hours ago, I came directly from the Swedish Parliament ahead of the European Council meeting tomorrow. And I just want you to know that, as in every democracy, we have quite often different opinions about many things in the Swedish Parliament, but not on Ukraine and not on the support for Ukraine. So in Sweden, we stand very united behind you and behind the Ukrainian people. I want you to convey that from the Swedish Parliament. Volodymyr, allow me first a few words in Swedish.
So, as you can hear, my voice is just perfect. Got a cold on Saturday anyway. So here we are in Saab in Linköping. This is no coincidence, where JAS Gripen is constructed, and the latest model, the Series E, which we can see behind us, was delivered to the Swedish Air Force just the other day for the first time. And Swedish engineers behind it, and with Swedish fighter aircraft, the Swedish people will become safer, but Gripen can also make the whole of Europe a safer place. President Zelensky and I have just signed a letter of intent. This is a letter of intent between Sweden and Ukraine, and this is the beginning of a long journey. And it will take us one step closer to a major export deal for Saab, for Sweden, together with Ukraine. This means great opportunities for the Air Force of Ukraine in the future, and also for Sweden and its defense industry, but also for a long-term industrial cooperation between Sweden and Ukraine. As you in here already know, and as President Zelensky knows better than anybody else, Sweden is one of the greatest military donors to Ukraine in absolute terms. We contribute with artillery, with aircraft, etc. And on the Air Force side, we're contributing with radar surveillance airplanes, AC1E, those of you who are interested. And these are aircraft which reinforce the ability in the older Western aircraft which are now operating in Ukraine. We also contribute with equipment and training. But it's also important, we are learning as well a great deal from Ukraine. And today we have in detail gone through a number of areas where Sweden has listened to the experience of Ukraine, military, civilian, taking that on board from Ukraine, showing that we can benefit from, but then we can also help Ukraine further with. Now, this letter of intent, agreement of intent, is something else. It is not aimed at any new donations at the moment. Instead, it is about a long-term cooperation when it comes to this type of cooperation, and the possibility of having a major deal between our two countries, probably between 100 and 150 Gripen aircraft model Series E, which is beginning to be produced now. And this is to build a very strong air force in Ukraine. It would then be part of the growing family using this unique, very flexible fighter system. And this agreement is a clear, mutual statement of will, and it is the beginning of a long journey for the next 10, 15 years. And this long-term ambition doesn't mean to say that we don't understand the great needs in place today to support Ukraine continued against Russia in the war of aggression. Now, for the last few years, Russia has aggressively attacked Ukraine partly against Ukraine's very brave soldiers, but also hospitals, preschools, schools, playgrounds. Children are killed and are taken to Russia against the will of the families. This is a brutality without any limits at all. And instead of putting pressure on Ukraine, the whole world should be putting pressure on Russia. The free world must now increase political, financial, military pressure on President Putin to put an end to this brutal war. From today, we're going to continue working together with Sweden and Ukraine and other partners as well. We're going to work very hard to try to look at different possibilities for long-term funding of Ukraine defense capabilities. And the point of departure is good, let me say. We're all in agreement that a strong Ukraine with a strong defense in place, this is the best long-term protector, not just for Ukraine, but also for all other European nations. And our ability to protect our airspace is, of course, of decisive importance. One important step in this direction may be taken already tomorrow, when the question about frozen Russian assets is going to be discussed once again at the European Council. And it's no coincidence that later this evening we are both flying down to Brussels. Now, even after the war, a long-term funding will be required for the reconstruction of Ukraine and also for their military defense systems. And this issue is naturally also decisive as regards the preconditions for the deal that we are now signing this agreement about. Lastly, Sweden has a proud history of being a world leader when it comes to fighter aircraft. The older generations told us about J-29, J-22, the Lancet, G-35, the Dragon, J-77 Viggen, and now JAS-39 Gripen. This is a unique history and background of our capabilities that we have built up in this country. Few NATO countries have this capacity. And the new aircraft that you can see behind me and President Zelensky right now is not just a source of pride for us in Sweden and for Linköping. It is also part of the unique Swedish ability that may help support the security of Sweden, of Ukraine, of Europe. And this is what it's really all about.
Step we're taking today through this Swedish-Ukrainian letter of intent creates the necessary preconditions for a major export deal on the Gripen fighters between our two countries. If we succeed, it will contribute to increased security in our part of the world and will strengthen both Ukraine and Sweden. We fully realize it's a long road ahead of us. But from today, we are committed to exploring all the possibilities in providing Ukraine with a large amount of Gripen fighters in the future. And with that, over to you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ulf. Thank you very much for having us and for your support for everything. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dear guests, dear Ulf, dear teams, ministers, dear Sweden, today we are opening a truly new and highly meaningful chapter in our relations between Ukraine and Sweden, and more broadly in Europe's overall security relations. Today we have the first document between our countries that opens the path for Ukraine to obtain a serious fleet, a very serious fleet of Swedish-made fighter jets, Gripens. Yes, these are excellent aircraft, strong aviation platforms, capable of carrying out a wide range of missions. And everyone sees what threats this helps protect against. Russian attacks against our state do not cease, and last night the Russians carried out yet another massive attack against our energy, against our cities, and unfortunately there are fatalities, and among them 2 children, and the youngest child wasn't even a 1-year-old. My condolences to the bereaved family. Last night alone, dozens of people were wounded by hits of Russian missiles and drones. In many regions, unfortunately, there are restrictions on the supply of energy, electricity. In the city of Kharkiv, Russian drones hit a kindergarten. Along the whole contact line with Russian forces, in our front line and border communities, they get hit by hundreds of glide bombs every day, and the Russians can hit us with them solely because they have an advantage in combat aircraft over us, which is why our strategy of defense is a multi-layered defense which is grounded on many things, from air defense systems such as Patriots, NASAMS and others, to combat aircraft. Sweden has been very helpful in this, and today, as Mr. Prime Minister has said, we have started the work to obtain Gripens for Ukraine. We expect the future contract to allow us to receive no fewer than 100 such jets. We clearly understand that this is a process. We clearly understand the financial grounding to implement this contract, which is important for us. We have discussed this with Mr. Prime Minister, with the leadership of Saab company. I'm grateful to Sweden for the readiness to cooperate on this. We appreciate our gratitude to the company Saab, which manufactures Gripen, and the company at whose facility we held today's talks. That's an honor for us. The next year we must do everything to get first real results, to do everything so that the procedures can be finalized in the near future. Procedures always take time, but nonetheless we must do everything to fill our framework agreement with full substantivity. Ukraine has already proven that it can accomplish such tasks quite fast, to train pilots, to train technical crews, to prepare the infrastructure, and now our teams must do everything so that the next year becomes the time of the more substantial implementation of our agreements, the start of usage of Gripens. Of course, we have also discussed other key issues, the energy. I have informed about Mr. Prime Minister about our main needs after Russian attacks. We have spoken about the recovery possibilities, in particular about searching the finances to have a volume of natural gas which will be sufficient for winter. The Russians are targeting our gas production, which is why import has a great meaning. We have also coordinated our positions ahead of the meetings in Brussels and in London, the European Council and Coalition of the Willing. I have informed Ulf about our communication with America and other partners. The fact of the matter is that Russia only responds to strength of pressure, which is why we brought up the topic of long-range capabilities, i.e. Tomahawks, in our agenda with partners. As soon as Russia heard about Tomahawks, in sufficiently persuasive way, Putin rushed to turn back to diplomacy. Now Russia's desire for diplomacy has faded somewhat, and it is our long-range capabilities that can put Russia to the table in a way to truly end this war. We've discussed the situation with air defense. I thank every partner who has joined the Pearl Initiative, which allows us to procure American weapons, in particular, and that's a priority, missiles for Patriots. Sweden is a member of the initiative, and I'm grateful for that. Another important direction for us and for European security overall is sanctions. We are counting on the adoption of 19th sanctions package, and this truly must stop being postponed. Also, one of the things that will truly influence the situation will be a usage of Russian frozen assets to defend against Russian aggression. We are preparing corresponding decisions. This is very much needed, and we very much count on the solidarity and support from Europe. Ukraine never wanted this war. Everybody knows that. The war that Russia launched against us, only Russia. Every day the Russians take lives of our people. They are destroying our cities every day. They have come to our land, and it's absolutely just that we're looking for, and we find the necessary means to defend ourselves, the necessary weapons, the necessary support, the necessary instruments of pressure on the aggressor. I thank everybody who's helping us. Thank you, Ulf, personally, and I'm very grateful to your great state that has helped Ukraine so much, and I'm sure that it will be historic for the Ukraine's independence. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you.
So much. Thank you so much, Mr. President, and I think we now open up for questions from the media.
Thank you. So now we open up for questions. So please state your name and your media outlet, and please keep it to one, maximum 2 questions. Yes, and we can start over there.
SVT, Elin Jansson, jag har en fråga till president Zelenskyy.
I have a question to President Zelensky from SVT.
The future development of peace negotiations, what can you say about the 12-point plan? What security guarantees are needed, and which compromises are you ready to make? Thank you so much. First things first, I think we'll have a very important meeting in Britain. Some of the partners will be present offline. Many of the partners will join online to our coalition of the willing. It must finalize as soon as possible the security guarantees for Ukraine. That's an important element for the end of this war, because one thing is to end Russian aggression, to stop Putin and stop him personally, because it's his personal will and desire to destroy Ukraine, to destroy Ukraine's independence, to subjugate us. So we must make sure that Russian aggression will not come again, which is why we need security guarantees. We have talked about that for 2 hours with the President of the United States of America. Ukraine is ready for the diplomatic track. We support the ceasefire. We are ready for diplomacy, but not under the conditions that we must leave certain areas, gifting the aggressor our land, our territories. It's not about kilometers, it's about homes of our people, about our history, our identity, it's our territorial integrity. So we're ready for diplomacy, but just as I have told the President of the United States of America, the issue is that we do not see the readiness of Russia, and all these diplomatic efforts that it demonstrates with their calls and meetings are aimed at delaying strong decisions of America and Europe, like introducing sanctions, like postponing diplomacy, to delay the transfer or the purchase of tomahawks. So they just delay the decisions that constitute part of the pressure on Russia. When Russia is ready for diplomacy, you will see that.
Sorry, President Zelensky. Why did you choose Gripen? And could you say something in English as well about the peace process?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Why Gripens? So we know about your jets a lot. I'm not sure that everything, of course, only Sweden knows everything, but a lot. We can compare with other platforms. And we use now jets, different, from the jets what have been produced during Soviet period of time, and also F-16s, not Block 50 plus, I mean not young, not new generations, and etc. But in any way, we are thankful for everything what we used and what has been delivered to Ukraine to support us. But if you look strategically on your air fleet, and we understand that there are the best three platforms, Gripen, F, and Rafales. And I don't want to open all the things, all our steps, what we need and what we'll do, but for our army, this is a priority. Gripens are the priority. That's why it's chosen by us. It's about money, it's about how it's maneuvered, and it's about how to use it, and it's also about our country. And between us, we understand with whom we fight. And Gripens are one of the best in the world.
And about the peace process?
What about the peace process? What do you want to hear?
What do you think about it?
What I think about it? No, we don't have enough pressure on Russians. And to make a pressure, by the way, the levers and contracts and today's decisions about ARGS, all these details of pressure on Russia. Because it's all about strengthening Ukraine and Ukrainian people and army. And not enough pressure on Russia. We need the decision on frozen assets, difficult decisions. It's a pity, and I hope that tomorrow we will have a chance. But we understand that it's not a simple decision. Russia will do everything not to give us possibility to have such decision. Is to use money, because they understand that they need to decrease financing of Ukraine during the war. How to decrease? First, to divide USA and EU. Then to divide EU. And they've been quite successful in some steps with some countries, you know. But God bless, strong countries in EU, strong countries are together. And this is very good. So that's why they want to decrease financing. And the frozen assets, it's a decision how not to lose these important funds for Ukrainian security. Then program Pearl is important. Also, we know that Russia works with some European countries. It pushes them not to deliver to this program, and this program especially for the United States, PAC-3, mostly PAC-3, because we need missiles, especially during the winter, especially for Patriot systems, which we don't have in Europe. And that's it. So, and also there are strong steps on the battlefield. Russia's pushing disinformation in media, mostly in the United States today, also in Europe, that they win this war, that they are winning. But it's not true. They have losses, more than 1 million people, 1,300,000. Yes, that's it. So and their economy is decreasing. And of course, they are a rich country, and of course they have a lot of money and funds and energy and etc. So sanctions on energy, this is also, but total sanctions, without games, real sanctions. So all these things will pressure them, and they will sit and speak.
I very much agree on the frozen assets, and I think that was going to be one of the most important discussions for tomorrow. And I also very much agree that Russia will do anything they can to obstruct those decisions, because they would mean a game-changing difference if they were to be released, those assets. So don't underestimate the Russian efforts to obstruct, to make countries believe it's dangerous or to believe in threats. But we will do everything we can. We had a good step forwards last time. I hope we will have another step tomorrow.
If I can, sorry.
Please.
I don't know the rules. I mean, we can't speak.
We set the rules.
Okay. So, I mean, it's very important signal to all Europeans. Don't be afraid of Russia with decision of frozen assets. to some of these countries, because mostly they are on the right side of history, and I hope that they will not be afraid. Because if we have such unity as EU, Europe widely, with Ukraine, with UK, you are stronger than Russia. Yeah, that's why don't be afraid. It will help a lot.
Thank you. Diane?
Hello, Pia Gripenberg, Swedish Daily Dagens Nyheter. Sorry for not speaking Ukrainian. This letter of intent is for the future. If you see in the short run, can JAS Gripen be of importance for Ukraine in the short run as well? And when it comes to the peace plan that a group of European countries are preparing, that includes freezing the front line as it is now, what's your opinion about that plan, and how will you be able to get Russia to the negotiation table, please?
Thank you very much. So I'm not sure that we have some, thank you. I'm not sure that we have some schedule of Gripens for today, but we understand on what we can estimate, on what we can count. So, and I will not share now details of our estimation, but our teams will work on it. Of course, for us, this is important question. The second point about the plan of Europeans, there are propositions like from France, from some Europeans, and I think we understand each other, and some European countries really very helpful with it. They want to put their point of view, how it's not like a plan how to totally stop the war. It's a plan mostly about plan of ceasefire. And I know some steps of it, but we are really, we have to discuss it. It's not done. Yes, we have to discuss it. There are some propositions, and I'm very welcome when our real friends, strategic friends, and then when they propose their help, not just by the words, by steps, militarily, humanitarily, or such way diplomatically.
Thank you. TT?
Prime Minister Zelensky, first of all, I'd like to ask you, would you say that you're more or less optimistic that you will find a peace solution comparing to 1 year ago? And secondly, Ulf Kristersson, can you please elaborate a little bit on the financial solution here? You talked about a little bit about the frozen assets and so on, and but how much of a help would that be?
Yeah, please.
I'm more positive than 9 months ago. I think we made a lot of work. I think our relations with the United States moved to the right side. Thank you.
To state, but just to state the obvious, if you want to make a big Gripen deal with Ukraine on the scale of 100+ fighters, it's the obvious question is on finance, of course. No doubt about that. I was very transparent on that. But I do think there is a momentum right now. Don't over-exaggerate the frozen asset, but it's one sign. Also, the realization among the coalition of the willing countries that in the long-term security guarantees for Ukraine is a strong Ukraine. The long-term security guarantees for the rest of Europe is a strong Ukraine collaborating with Europe. So there is a full realization that we need to be part of that build-up. Then, of course, we should unite on all these extremely important details. That's why I said this is a long way to go, but we have a clear idea on where to end that road.
Thank you. Aftonbladet.
Victor Stenqvist, Aftonbladet. Mr. President, two questions. Firstly, what was your reaction to the cancellation of the meeting between Putin and Trump? And secondly, if Putin can't be stopped in Ukraine, what risks do you see in the future for Sweden?
Europe will have risks. I don't know. I think Sweden is a very important part for EU, strong part, important part. And of course, if one of the European countries, of EU countries is in risk, I think that the security of Europe is in risks. So that's it. I think that I said about it, if we will not stop Putin, if we will not have a plan how to have a peace, so if we will not have minimum of this ceasefire, with understanding what to do next steps, so Putin can try to open new front somewhere, because for him Ukraine is very difficult. I'm not comparing our security or our military capability with other countries. No. I'm not trying to do it. I'm just say that we are in war so many years, and that's why I think other countries are not ready for such thing. It's like we've been at the very beginning of the war. It's understandable. So it's difficult to prepare for the war. It's not true that somebody can really prepare for the war, totally prepare, because psychologically, the most important, it's about people. Who is ready for the war? Who wants war? Normal people they don't want. And it's understandable why. Because you are adequate people. You know, that's it. You don't want losses. Don't want to lose your family. And that's why I'm sure that the most important strong society, but I think society is difficult again to prepare society for the war. And God bless that other countries will not do it. And that's why he will find, I think, he can think about other country, one or another, but not very big, because it's difficult. Because it's difficult not only to occupy the part, it's very difficult to hold. Ukrainian territory is big, one of the reasons. So yes, our people, yes, we long in war, but our territory is big. That's why you need too much people to hold it, even after you occupied it, temporarily occupied it. You have to hold. You need more soldiers. And it's very expensive. And so a lot of details about it. I mean, that we can speak about it, yes, with details, but we need too much time for this discussion. That's why I think risks have, first of all, small countries. This is my opinion. And for Putin, doesn't matter. They are in NATO, in EU, or not.
Thank you. And then we have the last question from Sveriges Radio.
Mr. President,
this is a question to both of you. As Ulf Kristersson says, this is a very urgent situation, but we can do things in the here and now. We can send old airplanes, as it were, that we have in Sweden. Is this a question that you have discussed at all? And in that case, when could Ukraine receive planes that we are not using at the moment? Well, we have said oftentimes, in fact, that we are part of this coalition discussing defense in Ukraine, and we haven't. We know, in fact, that that there are Gripen aircraft that Sweden isn't using, and we sent, in fact, an agreement to radar surveillance aircraft to Ukraine. That was the best thing that we could do at that time, that these F-16 aircraft operating in Ukraine at the moment, that they also had greater capacity through the radar ability that we can offer, instead of at the same time introducing 2 new small-scale fighter systems in Ukraine. But this is something that can change. Of course, we haven't changed that assessment at the moment. At the moment, we're fully occupied with, in fact, introducing the radar surveillance for those fighter jets. Thank you.
Last question. Ja, Julia från SVT. Jag har en fråga om den här.
I have a question with regard to this letter of intent presented here today. What does that entail in practice? So when can you start selling these aircraft to Ukraine? And for the production here in Linköping at Saab here in Linköping, what does that mean to them? That's a very important important question. The first thing that we need to do now is to look together at all possibilities that we can find for financing for the long term for Ukraine. Was already ongoing, and together with the reconstruction of Ukraine as well. And there, the discussion about the frozen assets is a very important part. Now, we're talking about the latest generation that was introduced just the other day here in Sweden. Now, that production capacity is just being established at the moment. So in practice, we're talking about within 3 years. That's when we can start delivering. And then, of course, you don't deliver 150 aircraft all in one go. This is a long-term process, which means that we're talking about what we're talking about, the financing. We're talking not just sort of one small short period of time. This is a long period of a process. So, well, we're talking anyway about within the next 3 years for the first possible delivery. That's possible, as I said. And I'm saying that, I'm not saying, I'd like to underline that this isn't something that is done in the here and now. I just like to say, but we are just showing what our will, our desire, and this is how all major projects start. In fact, to be honest, I mean, if everything had been done and dusted, then of course we would have been too late.
If I can, we are truly interested in serious co-production with Saab company. We want to produce drones. We are very interested in that. We are open for cooperation with Sweden. We have excellent relationship, and there is experience that we have because of the war, and we have the best or one of the best drones in the world, and we'll scale that up. Among other things, in partnership with Sweden. This is what we've discussed with Mr. Prime Minister, with Sweden and with Saab company. The second thing about Gripen, finances are a very important issue. There are aircraft, and we'll be talking about that further. There are Gripen, new generation Gripen. So we very much count on the quantity that we've discussed, no fewer than 100 aircraft. And we will also be talking about the possibility to use other aircraft, which are not state-of-the-art, to expedite this in a certain way. So we'll also speak about deliveries here. We'll also be talking about training of our pilots, which is also important. But the main thing that we have as of today, we very much wanted to have a political decision to provide a possibility for Ukraine to purchase Gripens and to build a modern air fleet. And this opportunity is open today. We have a politically positive decision. We are grateful to Sweden for this. Thank you all for this, and to all of your team.
Now, let me just say, President Zelensky, we are learning a great deal from President Zelensky. Drones were mentioned, civilian defense, all this, the will to defend, all of this. These are things that we have learned from Ukraine over the years. So let's not underestimate this. And it's not a corporate secret, as it were, that, we are really trying to, cooperate on a broader front between the Swedish defense corporations and Ukraine. And this is also important to underline.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks again. It's a beauty.
It's great.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.